Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo here on The King in Giallo. We are continuing our coverage for the only giallo film directed by Leopoldo Savona, or his first of two, depending on whether you want to include Byleth, the Demon of Incest, as a giallo. Death Falls Lightly, which according to some sources was released on January 1st, 1972. In this video, I will give you a condensed version of the full-length overview video covering only the cast and crew and the plot of the movie. Then I'll transition into the GialliTally. The GialliTally will contain heavy spoilers. Here is Death Falls Lightly Overview. Death Falls Lightly, the release date of which is either lost to us or is in fact January 1st, 1972, is an Italian production directed by Leopoldo Savona, who co-wrote the film along with Luigi Rosso. Music is composed by Coriolano Gori. The cast is comprised of Stelio Candelli as Giorgio Darica, Patrizia Viotti as Liz, Veronika Korosec as Adele, Rossella Bergamonti as Marisa, Tom Felleghy as Savara, and Fernando Cerulli as Magrini. The plot follows Giorgio, a drug trafficker who, upon returning home, discovers his wife's murdered body. Giorgio then blackmails his attorney to help him corroborate an alibi for himself, lest he reveal some sensitive information upon his arrest. The lawyer complies and arranges a stay for Giorgio with his mistress in an abandoned hotel until they can develop a proper alibi. While the couple lodges at the hotel, however, things begin to go bump in the night. But I digress. On to the GialliTally. Spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't yet seen the film. You've been warned. My prediction for the movie's GialliTally score. I do not believe I ever gave a prediction before, because at the time this movie was unavailable on Blu-ray, and so I wasn't going to give it a GialliTally. Well, thank you Vinegar Syndrome for including it in the Bloodstained Italy box set. It has been over a year though since I last saw the movie, so I will take a shot in the dark and predict around 475 to 525 points. Well, let's begin the GialliTally portion of the video. Beginning as always with the previewing cliches. The repeat offenders are 1 point for actor, 3 for writer, 3 for composer, and 5 for director. Note, the exact release date of Death Falls Lightly is unknown. Most sources list January 1st, 1972, though that is likely just a placeholder date. For consistency, I'll use it as the film's official release date for this GialliTally, while recognizing that some other 1972 credits may have actually come before or after it. For example, Stelio Candelli was also in Tropic of Cancer, and Patrizia Viotti was in Amok, both this same year, but I cannot verify if they did these projects before Death Falls Lightly or after. Moving on. Rossella Bergamonti was in The Murder Clinic, 1 point. Tom Felleghy was in Four Flies on Grey Velvet, Oasis of Fear, The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, and The Cat O' Nine Tails, 4 points. Antonio Anelli was in The Bloodstained Butterfly and Oasis of Fear, 2 points. Fernando Cerulli was in Slaughter Hotel, 1 point. Franco Maletta was in Cross Current, Slaughter Hotel, and Cold Eyes of Fear, 3 points. Lella Cataneo was in The Sweet Body of Deborah, 1 point. Carla Mancini was in The Devil with Seven Faces, The Bloodstained Butterfly, The Black Belly of the Tarantula, Cross Current, Oasis of Fear, Murder Mansion, The Designated Victim, and The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, 8 points. And Coriolano Gori composed Yellow Le Cugina and Killer Without a Face, 6 points. Cliché points for the title. Death Falls Lightly contains the word death, 5 points, and is a declaration. Death falls lightly. Oh, it does it? 5 points. First look, 25 points for the Italian director, and 15 points for the movie releasing during the golden age of giallo cinema. And would you look at that, it is plot o'clock. Cold open, 2 points. First person POV, 5 points. We watch as someone pushes into a building and seemingly wanders around. We see a photo of a man here, and someone asleep in bed. Title cards roll, and we meet our unknown person stalking inside, the man from the photo, who's leaving now. He hops in a car and looks, let's go with disheveled. I'll also accept anxious and guilty. He finally drives. Urban locales, 2 points. Italian locales, Rome, 3 points. He arrives at his destination. Upon entry, he demands to speak with the judge despite the early morning hour. The judge enters. The man, Darica, finally spills the beans. Z is for Zoom, 5 points. Irina, his wife, was murdered, he says. The judge asks if Darica was in Milan, trying to establish an alibi. Q is for questions, 5 points. And unfortunately, Darica being out of town is not an alibi because he cannot prove it as true. The judge declares that Darica is in quite the mess. Darica pleads for help establishing an alibi. He claims that he didn't see anyone upon his arrival, or more importantly, nobody saw him, and so the judge says, let's wait until somebody else discovers the body. They sit. Art featured, 5 points. The questions continue. Darica arrived by car, alone. He gets frustrated. T is for telephone, 5 points. The judge tries to make a call, but nobody picks up. We hear his inner thoughts as he expresses disappointment at Darica's unappreciativeness. He states that considering recent events between Darica and his wife, it will not be easy to convince the police that he did not kill her. The judge asks to meet with Darica elsewhere in about an hour, after he can make some more calls. Darica, whose first name is Giorgio, arrives at his mistress's house. I is for infidelity, 5 points. N is for nudity, 5 points. He informs her, Liz, of his wife's murder and how him being out of town does not work in his favor. I appreciate Liz's patriotism. God bless America. She asks why his friends in Rome cannot simply testify to him being there, but he assures her that it is not that simple. He says he spoke with his attorney earlier. He says the two of them will flee together until a better solution arrives. His attorney will tell them where to go. While Liz showers, she posits how the murderer must be some sort of maniac and will likely get caught due to making some mistake. Jump to them in a car later with Giorgio's lawyer. Giorgio's relaying of events further proves that there is nobody who could be called upon to verify his whereabouts during the murder, not even a gas station attendant or a toll booth worker. His lawyer says they must find a witness. Giorgio says he couldn't have brought Liz with him to Milan, well, because his lawyer knows what he was doing there. They come upon a car crash, which reminds me of the random car crash in Pierre Le Fou. Giorgio wants to help considering they're still alive, but his lawyer says he must not get involved. Someone else will come along and help. They arrive at their destination, an abandoned hotel, and go inside. Giorgio and Liz will be staying on the 5th floor for a few days until all of this can blow over. They are shown the room, then the lawyer and Giorgio step outside. His lawyer questions Giorgio for his decision to bring his mistress along while reminding him that his own political campaign is costing him a fortune, and this whole mess could ruin everything for him which he is trying to achieve. Giorgio reminds him that he knows exactly how to shield himself, otherwise he wouldn't be helping. Giorgio's asked if he killed his wife, but he doesn't answer. The lawyer says that he will get to the bottom of this and return to Giorgio with good news once there is some. He leaves. Once in the car, we hear his inner thoughts which call Giorgio a blackmailing son of a bitch. Okay, that sort of answers the question as to why his lawyer would be breaking the law to help him. The lovers briefly discuss their stay for the foreseeable days. Giorgio is confident that his lawyer will resolve this whole thing sooner than later. He leaves to take a walk around, but Liz is scared. He jokes about how it's not like the hotel is haunted. He'll return with candles. All the other rooms are locked. Downstairs, it seems like there was a party. Giorgio's inner thoughts reveal his desire to buy this property and turn it into a brothel with assistance from his connections. So it's not explicitly said, but with the evidence thus far, it certainly seems that Giorgio is a shady businessman, likely dealing in illegal enterprises and using his money to bribe the higher-ups, and then use the evidence of these bribes as blackmail for when he needs it, like right now. We jump over to the crime scene. The detective finds the photo of Giorgio, but no other evidence of any kind. Even the living room appears in order. Back at the hotel, Liz inspects the shower facility. Spank, slap, kiss. The judge, Magrini, makes a call to the police commissioner, De Carmina. During their small talk, we find out that Judge Magrini also has a political campaign going on. De Carmina says he will meet Magrini in a few minutes, then silently wonders what the hell Magrini wants. We then cut to a montage of Magrini on the phone with several others. Back with the lovers, there's drama already, as it seems that Liz keeps bringing up the issue of whether Giorgio is truly innocent. Liz replays a dream she's had. They were making love, but Giorgio's wife was there. Aardvarking, 10 points. Irina shot Giorgio in the back despite aiming the pistol nowhere near him. She then strangled Liz. Giorgio dismisses her dream. He assures her this will all end soon because it is in all of their best interests to make this go away. It's so important, in fact, that we find Judge Magrini playing tennis. He meets with Giorgio's lawyer, Savara, who informs him that the newspapers say the police are looking for Giorgio. The judge warns Savara that the police had better not find where he's hiding Giorgio. Magrini says they must get Giorgio to confess, but Savara insists he will not, especially to a crime he did not commit. They continue to lament their predicament. Magrini asks if Savara has spoken to De Romanis, and he says yes. Seems like the ball is rolling. Their conversation is observed by 2 bystanders. Back at the hotel, Liz asks Giorgio why he's been with her, but he avoids the question. Looks like he's setting up a projector, which makes sense because he brought in a projector screen's tripod earlier. She reminisces how they had met at a party 2 years ago and immediately began an affair. She knew he was some sort of big shot, but had no idea exactly. She requests to know more about what he does, but he responds that she has a car, an apartment, and money, plus he treats her well, so why does she have to be nosy? Cut again to Magrini on the phone with somebody, Mr. Caronia. Magrini asks the man about if he is still friends with that theater director fellow. Yes, he is. The director, Malvestiti, is called. He's asked about any upcoming productions, and he says they are opening a psychological giallo on Saturday, The Unraveled Skein. Now that's exactly the type of theater I'm trying to put on where I work. Caronia says he needs a favor, and he will meet Malvestiti at the theater to explain more. I love how everybody who is called for a favor in this movie always complains that the person calling them is a pain in the ass. Back to the lovers, watching a stag film in bed. They make love as the movie's theme song repeats. Necking, 5 points. Apparently Giorgio shagged her to sleep. Here's a complimentary giallo cliche, smoking in bed. We find them much later as they seem to unravel with their isolation. Liz remarks about them being like breeding mice, and he calls her stupid. Typical 1970s Italian misogyny, woman is called stupid, 3 points. She insinuates him being the murderer, and he blows. Y is for yelling, extra points for a hysterical woman yelling as well. 10 points. She shouts if he goes to jail, then she'll lose everything and become a prostitute, but he commands her to be quiet and gives her a slapperoo. Typical 1970s Italian misogyny, woman is told to shut up, 2 points, and woman is slapped, 5 points. She runs away as Giorgio gives chase, before tripping. Yeah, I'll count. Foot chase, 5 points. She is trapped and tosses furniture at him, and he wrestles her until he can assert control. He carries her back to the room, drags her into the shower, and runs the water. Liz appears to be having a panic attack. She calms, and he takes her to bed to rest. He undresses her and tucks her in, more or less. He agrees to come clean with her. He says the judge is in it even deeper than he is. Giorgio is a drug trafficker behind an enterprise worth billions of lira, which funds these guys' political campaigns. The money is then used to fund businesses and industries which are protected by his political contacts. Exposition dumping, 2 points. He says because they haven't killed him, this proves that he is more useful to them alive and out of jail. He says his wife didn't even know about his dealings. She'd asked, but he would lie about his job. She had recently asked for a divorce, and Giorgio was happy to grant it to her. This news of divorce surprises Liz. Giorgio says he won't marry Liz, though, because marriage is a sham. She does not look thrilled to hear any of this, but he says he loves her, so I guess, it's all okay now. That night, something awakens Giorgio downstairs. It's music. He goes to inspect the source of it. Down where the party decor was, the gramophone is now blasting music. While Giorgio tries to understand what is happening, although not turning the blaring music off, someone sneaks into the room and spies upon Liz as she sleeps. Halfway through the movie now, Giorgio returns upstairs to Liz, who screamed earlier. She asserts that there was someone there, that they are not alone, but he denies this, although his tone softens a bit once a ball rolls across the floor. He goes to further investigate the disturbances. Close up on a door handle, 5 points. Liz, maybe passes out? Giorgio continues. Jump scare! A woman with her throat slashed grabs Giorgio, then collapses. The sight gives him flashbacks of his dead wife. The body suddenly becomes his wife. H is for hallucinations, 5 points. Giorgio flees from the body. Extra points for Z is for a zoom on a dead body, 5 more points. He ascends the stairs, but whack, is beaten to the ground. Upon looking up, Giorgio sees his assailant, some man. The man apologizes, saying he forgot they had guests present. Then he admits to killing his wife with a straight razor. The man claims to be the hotel's owner. Extra points for Z is for a zoom on eyeballs, 5 points. E is for eyeballs, 5 points. The man says he won't implicate Giorgio in the murder and that he knows that he is a friend of Savara. He urges Giorgio to help him cover up the murder. They go down, bring a chest over, drop the body in, and carry the chest out of the hotel. They lug the chest out and down the street, past some kids who speak of revolution. A cop rides up, asks for a light, then dismisses himself after the hotel owner says they're off to bury a body. They continue, then drop the chest into a hole in the beach and start burying it under sand. The hotel owner goes to this young woman, Marisa, his mistress. Giorgio continues to hallucinate seeing his late wife. The owner says they can finish burying her later tonight, for them to go back to the hotel now. Giorgio finds Liz and informs her that the owner is downstairs. She says then his friend lied about the hotel being empty. He tells her about the owner's wife's murder, but that they cannot leave. He says the owner wants them to come down and share some drinks with him and his mistress, a toast to love. Liz suddenly sees a woman in the hallway. She warns Giorgio, who follows the woman into another room. He asks who she is. She says, Adele, the owner's daughter. He wonders if she is alive, and she ponders how he can be certain that he is himself alive. He returns to Liz, saying there is nobody there. L is for lies, 5 points. She pushes back against this, but he accuses her of calling him mad. They go downstairs, stumble, then continue further down. Spiral staircase, 5 points. They enter the room with the party decor. Liz becomes frightened and begs to go back up. Giorgio searches for other unlocked doors. He loses Liz, but finds the woman, Marisa. She says Liz is seducing Adolfo, the owner. Giorgio rejects this, and she mocks him for being so distraught, then orders him to get the hell out of here. He keeps searching in vain, then hears laughter coming from upstairs and bolts toward it. In another room, he finds Adele bathing. A random monkey is present. Animals featured, monkey, 2 points. She remarks about his wife being murdered, and he asks how she knows about that. Did her father say that? No. He asks where they are, when they are, whether she believes he is real before her. Here, watch this scene and tell me if there's anything distracting in it. Right? His blue shirt. F is for fashion, 5 points. Adele accuses Giorgio of helping her father cover up the murder and taunts that he likely left fingerprints. She says that Marisa probably told him that his mistress is sleeping with her father now in one of the 80 rooms. She asks if he loves Liz, but Giorgio is unsure whether he truly does. She says it doesn't matter, that his mistress will always come back to him. Liz peers around the corner and watches as Adele suggests that since his lover is with her father, then Giorgio might as well sleep with her now. Giorgio leaves. Cut to Liz confronting Adele about what the hell is going on here, if she slept with Giorgio. Adele lies and says that she did, that making love with a murderer is a different, more passionate experience. Liz states that Giorgio did not murder his wife. Adele asks how the hell would she even know that? What, did he tell her that? Of course he didn't. Liz demands for them to all leave Giorgio alone, but Adele calls her bluff. The police won't help, so she should just go away. Cut to downstairs where Giorgio appears to be losing it more and more. He keeps seeing things. K is for knives, 5 points. Giorgio searches around as we cut between Adele appearing as though she is performing some sort of ritual, or else she just has a very unique way of vibing. Giorgio finds her. She takes a knife, vogues with it, then, I don't know, pretends to slowly stab herself. Extra points for K's for knives for the blade reflecting the light. 5 more points. Giorgio leaves, but finds Adolfo hanging over the stairwell. Adele wanders around the party area, but an unseen person drags her off screen. Giorgio enters a darkened room. A light comes on, goes out. He then trips. Then he sees a man's arm appear to slice Liz's throat. Giorgio struggles in the dark until a door opens. Someone's feet are seen walking in. They drop the razor. Extra points for Z is for a zoom on a weapon. 5 more points. Then they beat Giorgio in the half darkness. After what feels like 2 minutes of just watching Giorgio stumble around, he finally picks up the dropped razor. Giorgio continues to fearfully wander about until he reaches the front lobby where the inspector confronts him. Giorgio tells the inspector that there was a massacre, that he's seen all the bodies, but he didn't do anything. The inspector accuses Giorgio of only committing one crime, the murder of his wife, but he denies it. 2 more men walk in. Giorgio is sat down and guarded while the inspector meets with Savara and relays that Giorgio has still not confessed, and he seems sincere. Savara relents that they tried it his way, but must change tactics now. They find Adele on the ground. The inspector explains how the throat wound was identical to Giorgio's wife's wound. Plus, Giorgio was found fleeing the hotel clutching the bloody razor, but Savara points out that Adolfo had dropped that razor and Giorgio merely picked it up. He's not the killer. The inspector yields, asserting that Giorgio held the razor in his right hand, then asks where Liz is. Malvestiti enters. The inspector says he would like to speak with the other actors after speaking with him. Malvestiti tells the inspector how this whole charade came to be, that he was approached by a man last night asking for him to put his actors up to a job. Despite refusing to do the job initially, because his actors were supposed to open their show soon and he doesn't want to expose them to legitimate risks involved, or anybody to the police for that matter, we hear the voice of the person speaking with him threaten to pull all future funding if Malvestiti does not cooperate. Savara tells Liz that Giorgio has confessed and she pulls him over to show him something. She claims that she had found some troubling documents in Giorgio's things. The actors come out and stand over Adele, who was in fact murdered, despite all of the killings we saw in the last hour being all theatrical. Well, somebody did in fact kill her. In the room, Liz grabs the bag, then slashes Savara's throat. The inspector enters and disarms Liz. Hidden identity of the killer until the final moments, 5 points. The actors lament Adele's unfortunate demise in this performance. Liz is perp-walked out where she apologizes to Giorgio for murdering his wife. She says she was obsessed with the idea that he might return to her. We get a series of flashbacks. The inspector says Giorgio is free to go. Outside, Magrini pulls up. He thanks the commissioner/inspector, invites Giorgio in the car, and the two drive off, while the inspector mutters, "Dirty son of a bitch," under his breath. In the final shot, before the credits roll, we see some, well, reckless driving. 5 points. Let's quickly add up some final cliches. In no particular order, we have extra points for I is for infidelity, for murder occurring as a result of it, 5 more points. O is for obsession, extra points for the killer being obsessed, 10 points. S is for secrets. No extra points here though, because I think Liz's motive is somewhat predictable, and the film actually sets her up in hindsight. 5 points. U is for undercover, to all of the actors playing ghosts. 5 points. Speaking of which, no, they are not ghosts, but you don't conclusively know that until the end. So, supernatural elements, 2 points. I'll also grant someone faked their own death. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'll allow it. 5 points. Someone else is believed to be the killer, aka mistaken identity. Yeah, I'll go ahead and give this to Giorgio, considering it's the inciting incident of the entire film. 5 points. I will also grant set in a manor or chateau for a duration of the film, 5 points. Yeah, I know it's a hotel, but yeah. And that's Death Falls Lightly. Okay, so yeah, I gotta be very, very honest. I mean, I did a unscripted talking head movie review for this movie, but it's been over a year and almost a year and a half. Not quite, but I don't recall exactly what I said, but I don't think my opinion has changed either. I know I was not a big fan of the movie, and so that's why I say when Vinegar Syndrome released it in this Italian bloodbath box set, I was a little miffed because the way I generally decide whether I'm doing a GialliTally or not is if the movie is available on home media for the US, and I generally would be like, if it's on Blue Underground, Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome, Severin, Diabolic, Celluloid Dreams, there's others, but if it's available in some well-known boutique's catalog, not some like obscure, I don't know who the hell that is, I don't know if these, I'll buy it and I'll cover it. So that's why I have some that are obscure, and that's why I don't have some others. And I was a little annoyed that they had released this because it meant I had to go back and cover it because I was still in the year 1972. If I had moved on, I'd be like, I'll do it later as like a separate thing. But anyways, my thoughts on this movie. Yeah, it's sure, it is a giallo. Like I've said, the giallo description, the net for it is a very wide net that casts out there and catches a lot of things. And this is certainly one of them, although it's more obscure. It's a little odd. Yeah, I generally don't like this movie because I think it's boring. It has an interesting premise, but this is one of those premises that It does not need to be, and it's not even a long movie. I think it's like an hour and a half, but at a certain point, you're just watching a guy walking around a hotel trying doors as these people keep interacting with him and acting like ghosts. And there are some premises in giallo films that I think this is only interesting for like 10 minutes maybe, and then it starts wearing out its welcome, and I start looking at the clock like, oh my god, how much more of this is left? Stelio Candelli is a good actor though, and I know I had given Patrizia Viotti crap in the past saying she's not a good actor. I changed my mind after I saw Amok. Also, whenever I see her, I have a real soft spot because she died fairly young. I think she died in the early 90s from a drug overdose, so she was like in her 40s, and that's really tragic. Beyond that, this movie, yeah, I just find it to be boring. And the funny thing is rewatching it, I realized all these other things it was kind of taking from, or it's seemingly taking from. The movie came out in 72, so that's before The Shining, but there are little elements about being in the hotel, seeing the ghosts, that is reminiscent of The Shining. And then when they get the fat chest trunk thing to put the body in, I'm like, okay, well that feels like a direct nod to Le Diabolique. So, I don't know. Yeah, this is a hard one for me to recommend and to go back and rewatch. Like I always say, I'm not going to try to dissuade you from watching it or dissuade you from purchasing the Bloodstained Italy box set. It's funny, even talking about those movies, how does it rank against the other ones? Well, it is the most true giallo of those three movies. The Obscene Desires movie, or I think that's what it's called, is not a giallo at all. And then the Bloodstained Lawn is very fringe, just like Death Falls Lightly itself. Bloodstained Lawn is probably at least a little more unique, more entertaining. The visuals are more interesting. There's a freaking blood-sucking robot in that. Yeah, honestly, Death Falls Lightly is just one of those, like, yeah, I mean, it's very, I would say it's even sub-middle of the road. It's just like a lot of other giallo films that are more middle of the road. They at least follow the more standard black-gloved killer sub-genre of giallo films. I have a whole list of giallo sub-genres, and this one would fall under the category of big scary house. So, like Murder Mansion, any giallo that takes place in almost one singular location for the majority of the film, and it's like creepy things are kind of going on, maybe it's supernatural, maybe not. Yeah, I call that big scary house. And this is a big scary house giallo film. So, yeah, it's a good example of one also. But anyways, those are my thoughts. I don't really have a whole lot to say. Like I said, this is just not my favorite. Post-giallo viewing cliches. The reason for the killing. Mental illness, psychopathy, or obsession. 7 points. The reason for the investigation. There isn't quite a traditional A-plot investigation. In regard to Giorgio, I wouldn't count his plot as an investigation by any means, but I will credit the police for technically resolving the matter by the end. So, police investigator. 2 points. Bonus points. The style bonus. The film has some unique stylistic choices. We have some usage of first-person POVs, some zooms in and out, some frantic and quick stuttering, some generic mirror shots, that terrible gothic thing of using a spotlight as a candlelight, and plenty of characters' thoughts and narrations. Beyond all that, there's not a whole lot going on. Out of a maximum of 25 points possible, I will give Death Falls Lightly 11 points for its style bonus. Soundtrack.
Sundays, neon light.
Se ti dico di no.
Ma oggi c'è gente dappertutto. Bisogna trovare un testimone a tutti i costi, altrimenti...
Liz, fermati!
Yeah, sure. I'm not a big fan of the jaw harp, though. 15 points. Bad effects. Yeah, but nothing too wild. 10 points. Final look. Extra points. The Deadpool, tallying how many kills and deaths are featured in the film. I break it down as thus: 10 points per kill or death scene for the main Deadpool, plus any stylistic kill multipliers, which we didn't add yet, plus the knife kill bonus. And real quick, I'm not adding any of the fake deaths. But we have Irina Darica, throat slit with a razor, 17 points. The two dead guys seen on the side of the road, vehicular, 19 plus 19. Adele, throat slit with a razor, 17 points. And Savara, throat slit with a razor, 17 points. Red herrings for the total number of legitimate suspects in the film. 5 points per legit suspect are awarded. We have Giorgio, Liz, Magrini, and Savara. 20 points for red herrings. There are not a lot of legitimate red herrings in this film. We can only assume it might be Giorgio or anybody we meet within his orbit, but a lot of the other characters are just too far removed, in my opinion, to be credible. Flashback sequences, 5 points each. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 40 points for flashbacks. Nudity, I award 5 points for ass, 7 for breasts, and 10 for genitalia. We have breasts, breasts, breasts and ass, breasts and ass, breasts, breasts, and breasts. 59 points for nudity. Ladies and gentlemen, for Death Falls Lightly, I awarded the film an AZ score of 14 out of 26. With the bonus points for these, we have a modified score total of 105 points. And for the full GialliTally score, I award Death Falls Lightly a GialliTally score of 522 points. Compared to Tropic of Cancer in first with 1,124 points, Short Night of Glass Dolls in second with 969 points, and What Have You Done to Solange in third with 933 points, Death Falls Lightly is in like 40-somethingth place with 522 points. I predicted between 475 and 525 points, so I was right on the money with this one. I just knew that this film would be way lower in total points, and technically it's above Murder Mansion, which was the bottom of the barrel in terms of GialliTally points for 1972, and then it's right above AAA Masu's Good Looking Offers Her Services. So it's close to the bottom, but not quite the bottom. Please like this video, share it with your friends if they are horror fans or cinephiles, subscribe to The King in Giallo if you haven't yet, and if you have any questions, thoughts, curiosities, or concerns, leave those below in the comment section and I will get back to you. Give The King in Giallo a follow on Instagram and a like on Facebook. Subscribe to the King in Giallo Patreon to see early access to the YouTube videos, exclusive video series, and to generally support what I do. Next time on The King in Giallo, I will be going back to bring the overview, review, and GialliTally for one of the better Giallo films of 1972, one which I felt deserved the full treatment. The third Giallo by Silvio Amadio, Amok, released on March 21st, 1972. Thank you very much for your continued support, and a special thank you to those who support me on Patreon. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
Che ho fatto paura, eh?